Deku is getting the absolute shit beaten out of him. And when I say he's getting the absolute shit beaten out of him, like, this nigga's getting rocked. People are doing this because, he has no quirk, but he's still gotten to UA due to his smarts. And a bunch of the students hated this. They thought, if he has no quirk, shouldn't he just go to a regular school? This isn't a place for, quirkless humans. This deck would be lying on the ground, still getting stomped out. He thinks they're going to kill him, which they are. They don't care about Deku or his life. They want him dead. Deku would think to himself, oh, fuck me. Why'd I have to come out quirkless? Is this what God wanted? What type of plan does he have for me? What type of plan involves so much pain? As Deku's arm would be completely torn off by a guy with a strength quirk. Deku wouldn't even wince in pain. He'd just be sitting there, completely out of it, taking each and every little bit of the pain. Deku's body would, be mangled by the end of it, and he'd still be thinking, this is it. I'm gonna die here. As he thinks back on, Class 1A, which he still got into, because, nigga smart, he was tactical. My nigga was really boxing these robots. He was shutting down their wires. He was smooth with it. But, yeah. Deku would think back to all of the fun times that he had. As then he looked beyond that. He'd see that they weren't really fun times. It was just him being annoying to everybody. Now that he thinks back on it, they never really included Deku in any activities. And when he did try to join in, they would always, what's the word I'm looking for? Yes, neglect, his presence. If Deku was even there, they would look past him and continue on with what they were doing. Deku would notice this. He'd think to himself, Bakugo, you always hated me. You're the reason I'm like this. Bastard. Uraka, I liked you. I loved you. But you always turned me down. Ida, we were supposed to be best friends. But you were one of the main people who looked past me. Todoroki, I tried to help you with your dad. You guys were actually getting close. But you started to neglect me as well. As Deku would start to spit up blood. As he tried to get up, he'd continue thinking, if I make it out of here alive, I promise things will be different. I won't allow myself to be stomped on anymore. I won't let people walk all over me. To hell with that. I don't care. I'd rather die than let those bastards continue on with what they're doing. As Deku would start to leave a blood trail leading out of the, alleyway that Bakugo's goons beat the absolute shit out of him in, as Deku would start to make his way back towards his house. While he's on his way, Deku, he'd be seen by hella people who would all look shocked because Deku's body is it's fucked up. It's pretty fucked up, no cap. He's missing one of his arms. All of his limbs are broken. He's bleeding from every part of his body, yet he can still move. Yeah, I know, it's astounding. But Deku would continue walking. It would be his will that drove him. Deku would start to make it back to his house, being almost there, as he'd bump into a police officer who would try to help Deku out, but he wouldn't exactly listen to the man. He would just keep going, and the police officer, seeing Deku's body, would assume that he's probably deaf, saying that, he's bleeding from his ears, and so the man would touch Deku, but Deku would just smack his hand away and continue moving. He'd think to himself, my mom, she's probably waiting on me with dinner. I'd hate to worry her. Deku would fade in and out of consciousness as he'd keep walking on his broken legs, mind you. He'd be 10 meters away from his house as he'd see Bakugo's goons, but they were with Bakugo, and he could hear them. They were laughing about, killing him. As Deku would think to himself, those bastards, they won't get away with this. As Deku would overhear them say, they also beat his mom, saying that she could give birth to a monstrosity of a human, like, the dead nigga. But yeah, they kind of fucked his mom up pretty badly. I'm not even gonna cap to y'all. She's probably dead. Who knows? I know. But Deku would walk inside of his house, and he'd see his mom on the ground, glass shattered everywhere around her, cuts and bruises all over her body, as she was still breathing, but her face was completely messed up. Her eyes were gone, and it looked like she'd been raped. Deku would fall to his knees as he couldn't walk anymore. I'm gonna fuck this up a lot. Okay, I got it. He'd see so much sperm on his mom that, it disgusted him. His mom would say, Deku. Izuku would crawl over to his mom. What is it? What is it, Mom? Kill me. What? Kill me. I can't do that. What are you talking about? They raped me. Who? Please tell me. Who? Was it those goons? Yes. they impregnated me. Deku's body, it would go limp after hearing this, as Deku, well, he couldn't move anymore, and he was just sitting next to a cum-stained version of his mother, and, yeah, I mean, he's having a pretty fucked up day. But, Deku would, well, grant her wish, as with his broken arms, he'd grab a piece of glass that was shattered on the ground, as his mom would have a smile on her face, as Deku would slam the, well, broken piece of glass straight through her fucking throat, as she'd be gagging on her blood. Deku would lay down on all of the broken pieces of glass, as he'd say, this world, it's cruel. This world, it deserves punishment. This damn world deserves punishment. As Deku's eyes, they'd start to spark red. He'd have black markings come around his eyes. Deku's body, it would still be, well, mangled, but he could feel himself being killed very slowly, as he'd say, once I'm done with this, once I'm recovered, I'll kill those bastards. I'll kill Bakugo, and nobody will stand in my way. It's Deku's entire, and I do mean entire, personality would shift. He'd go from a sweet, caring pushover to a savage, bloodthirsty killer. This nigga doesn't care anymore. He's crazy. He's brazy. That nigga went off the deep end. You see his mama. Never mind. It doesn't matter. I was gonna say some fucked up shit, but yeah, I'm not that horrible. Yes, I am. Who am I kidding? But yeah. So Deku would he'd basically go upstairs, call the police, and he'd lie in his bed. Fast forward a few hours, the police would storm Deku's house. They'd see his mother dead on the ground, and they'd go upstairs to see Deku's body in his bed, just lying there. As they'd take the broken Deku to the hospital, and there they would question him. As Deku'd say, well, he'd lie and say he didn't know who did it, but in reality, Deku knew who did it. Bakugo and his goons. And he wanted payback. He wanted their blood. And just for pure sweet revenge, he was gonna murder Bakugo's mother in front of him. Just cuz. But yeah. That pretty much sums up Deku's revenge plan. Unless you guys want me to go into detail about how Deku's going to torture the fuck out of Bakugo. You know what? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But Deku would finished being questioned, and the police would have alerted UA of what had happened to Deku. But his classmates, they would hear about this, and they really wouldn't care. Well, some of them would, such as Momo, Mina, Kirishima, Momo, Mina, Kirishima. Mm, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, that pretty much sums that shit up. But yeah, those would be the only three people that would care to even visit Deku. And since those three actually, know what? Know what? No, 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 no. No, yeah. Those three would be the only people that would care to visit Deku, and so he would make it, well, a mental note in his mind not to completely fuck them over once he was done being healed. But yeah. Every night when, well, everybody would leave the hospital, consisting of Mina, Momo, and Kirishima, once they left, Deku would start his training. His mental and physical training. Deku would start to try to move his body more and more every day, and eventually he got the hang of it again, seeing that, well, his bones were starting to become stronger and moved back into place. But Deku would start to become a bit muscular. He would do a certain routine every day. Sit-ups. He'd flip over in his bed and do push-ups. And, well, for his mental training, well, Deku would meditate. He'd sit in his bed and he'd focus on all of the energy around him. Deku could feel the energy flowing throughout him as well. But he wanted to know where he got this power from. Was it his quirk? Was it somebody else's power? Was it a fraction of UA? Not UA. Fucking a fraction of, what's it called? One for all? Yeah. Was it a fraction of one for all? That was, well, giving him new powers? Nah, why did I say one for all? Deku's quirkless. Yeah. Yeah. Bakugo has one for all. Yeah. This is gonna be enjoyable. But yeah. So Deku would continuously think about where he got this power from, and he would get his question answered on his last day of being in the hospital. Deku would be visited by a spirit. This spirit would be a small child. It would look at Deku and it would smile and say, "Are you enjoying my power?" "Your power? Who are you?" "Me? Well, that's not important. What is important is, well, the powers you have. Or, well, the power you have. It's called gravity manipulation. But I like to call it my little plaything." "Your little plaything?" "Yeah, because I can manipulate gravity to, well, extreme extents." "What do you mean?" "I can bend light, darkness. I can even bend the flow of water, making me being able to control it if I felt like it. I could basically control any element with gravity." Is that so?" "Yeah, but that's not all. I can also, well, never mind. I'll let you figure that out for yourself. It'll surprise you, so be careful and try not to kill anybody with this power. But I'll give you a helping hand on how to use it. Your eyes. Summon your energy to your eyes, and well, you'll learn how to use it. And then the spirit would disappear, and Deku would, well, regain basically his consciousness, saying that, well, shit, that nigga was knocked. Nigga was knocked the fuck out. But, yeah, Deku would regain consciousness, and for the next hour or so, Deku would be trying to summon his energy to his eyes through meditation, and, well, he'd figure out how to do it. And once he did this, things tremendously slowed down. Deku's clock, it seemed to be going backwards. And when Deku raised his hand, things began to flow upwards. Deku moved his hand side to side. And, well, things began to move side to side as well. And Deku would think to himself, how do I stop this? But when he thought this, everything would drop, as Deku would no longer have control over it. Well, everything in the room, basically. As Deku would think to himself, this is pretty cool. As Deku would try something. He would try, well, to move the water inside of a vase, as he could do this. Deku would be able to move the water, as he could control it to his extent, but only by using gravity. As Deku would say, this power is amazing. Gravity manipulation. Huh. Is this the kid Master told me about? As an outside source would be looking at Deku control the water, as they would have also seen Deku move everything around him. At first, they thought it was telekinesis, but this was way more different than telekinesis. Because when Deku dropped his hand down, they could feel the pressure that Deku, well, the objects emitted. But that doesn't matter right now. Neither does that person. Yeah, they don't matter. But shit, they will matter soon. But Deku, well, he began to get the hang of using his new power. And Deku would eventually be released from the hospital, as Deku would try to use his gravity manipulation to manipulate the shadows. Deku would try to raise the shadows, as this would work. He'd be able to move the shadows around and, well, control them to his will. Deku would try this on various fucking elements and objects, and he'd be able to move them all. But Deku was thinking about what the spirit said, and he'd think to himself, something dangerous, huh? Deku would hold out his hand, and he'd start trying to gather gravity into his hand, as a small black ball would appear. It would be purple and black. As it would start to grow bigger and bigger until it was at least the size of, well, I'll say a fucking textbook. Why not? And once it got to that size, Deku would throw it at a car. No, fuck that. Yeah, fuck that. Fuck the car. He wouldn't throw it at the car. Because, like, insurance, and that would be a bitch to have to pay off. But yeah, Deku would throw it at a tree. Yeah, trees are expendable. Deku would throw it at a tree, and the tree would completely crumble under the pressure of that ball. It would crumble so much to the point where it would wilt and start to die as it crumbled. And Deku would say, Is this what the spirit was speaking about? As Deku would smile and say, Hell yeah. This is what I need. This is what I need to kill that damn bastard. As Deku's eyes would go red as he was slowly losing control. Deku's anger, his hatred, his rage was starting to build up. But he couldn't let it take over. Well, not just yet. Not until he, set his plan in motion. But that doesn't matter right now. What does matter is the clean fit this nigga Deku is about to go get. Ooh, hold on, that kind of rhymed. I got bars, damn. But yeah. Deku would go to a store and using the money that he got from being a hero, he would no. Using the money he got from what he inherited from his now dead mother. Yeah, I'm gonna bring her up a lot. He would buy what you see on the screen. Deku would buy a sword and a cloak. He'd rock the cloak, it'd be black and purple. He'd have a black shirt with black pants, and he'd be rocking black Air Forces. Why not? Yep. He's black. He's rocking the black Air Force ones. Because that's the type of energy this nigga's on. He doesn't care. So, once Deku basically got his outfit, he saw a contest. It was trying to pull out a sword. That was the basic, concept of the damn contest. So Deku would sign up, and once he signed up, he'd pay a small fee, which he'd get back if he could pull out the sword. So Deku would walk over to the sword, and he'd cloak his hand in, gravity. As Deku would grab the sword, as he'd manipulate the gravity to pull up at an extravagant rate, and the sword, it would start to crack the rock as sparks would begin to let out everywhere. His Deku would begin pulling and pulling until eventually, the sword came out in a purple shock of lightning. It could be seen throughout the sky. As Deku would say, It's time. It's time for that damn bastard to pay. As Deku would start to make his way back to UA. And once he got there, Deku could see that, Bakugo was in class, along with the rest of UA. Deku would walk into the class as Bakugo would see him and smirk, along with, he wouldn't smirk. No. Yep. Bakugo would smirk as the rest of Deku's classmates would see him, and they really wouldn't say anything because, they didn't like the quirkless loser, but there were a few exceptions. Aizawa, Momo, Mina, and Kirishima. Only exceptions. But, yeah. They would go